God, people love me, don't they?
Regis Philbin and Kelly Ripa.
Also, I did a pilot for a game show.
Oh, you'd be a great one, you.
You will!
Hello everybody, welcome to a special game show garbage vlog. This is Robert Seidelman. I hope you're enjoying yourself by watching the revival of the Pyramid. I will talk about that and beat the chefs later on, but first I need to talk about something about the Patrick Wayne Award voting. The update was supposed to happen midnight on September the 1st. However, thanks to Tropical Storm Isaac, we couldn't get the update up until Sunday night, September the 2nd. So that left the poll up, and people were continuing to vote. And what happened was, when the site finally got updated, I believe the end result of the poll was Who's Still Standing winning by one vote over the Australian version of The Price is Right, which has been neck and neck for the past week and a half. However, the poll was supposed to end on September the 1st, so what you saw as the picture on the website for the past week was the actual final result of the vote. So we get the Australian Price is Right as the Wayne winner, and we will have the induction for you on September the 22nd. I must make a clarification, though. I'm happy that it won, because although it's not the worst show out of the 5 that were nominated, I honestly believe that goes to Red or Black or Funny or Die Billion on the Street, it is clearly the most disappointing. It was a classic show on Australian TV that sadly got canceled in 2008, but when it got revived, we all were just let down heavily from it being super cheap, big W, big W, big W, to everything not feeling as right as it was, and it took a page from the Doug Davidson version of The Price is Right, having contestants just come on down and play a game. Needless to say, it didn't quite work out for everybody who watched it the first few weeks. However, I am happy to say they have upped the budget a little bit, especially on the showcases, but still that couldn't save it from winning the Wayne. So now let's talk about something much happier, and that is the revival of Pyramid. This is pretty much the best revival that I have seen in the past 10 years. Honestly, I would say past 20 years, but then that would be going up against Hollywood Squares. And to me, that is the best revival in the past 20 years. Mike Richards is fantastic as a host, and for those number threes who thought that because he is the executive producer of The Price is Right, were whining and crying and says, "Oh no, he killed Price is Right, he sucks at everything, man. Shut the fuck up, you golden people down the road on the internet. Morons. He does a fantastic job here like he did he was a host on Beauty and the Geek about 5 or 6 years ago. He interacts well with the celebrities and the contestants like you want the host of a pyramid show to do. The format itself is just like the original version, except with a little twist, and that 7 out of 7 gets you $500 in cash and adds $5,000 to your Pyramid Winner Circle bank, which starts at $10,000, so a perfect score gets you the $25,000 Winner Circle. I love that, actually, because it puts more emphasis on doing well in the front game. Because I remember a couple of times where somebody would do really well in the front game, and the other person would absolutely tank. And more often than not, that person would go for $25,000. Or 25,000. I think I have an episode of something like that happening, whether it was going 4 or 5. Going 4 categories or 5 categories deep. Oh well. A couple things I need to nitpick about this show is that the music, while it is good, it's a little deceiving. From what I heard, and it has been reported in other places, that the theme played in the studio is the original 80s Pyramid theme. You know, da 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 da. I'll stop. And instead, when we hear it on TV, we get a jazzy version of that theme. It's not bad, but I'd rather prefer the original theme. Another thing that I really have to nitpick on is the use of the zoom in. For when you pick a category, it'll zoom in, you'll get a shot of the host, and it will zoom into the host. It becomes off as disjointed, and What's wrong with using a shot of the pyramid, have that trilon turn, and then just pan to the host, like what they did with the 80s version, and they did that a lot with the John Davidson version. When they went to the monitors. Excuse me for that little burp. But anyways, at the end of the day, the set looks great. The game is as it was in the 80s and the 90s. And it just feels like you're watching a real revival of Pyramid and not Donny-mid. Yeah, baby, Pyramid! Or something like that. Oddly enough, Donny Osmond sounds a lot like Dick Vitale when he was hosting that show. Anyways, I really recommend watching the Pyramid. It's on at 6 o'clock on Game Show Network. Please tune in, watch it. It got 646,000 in the premiere. I don't know what it got for the sneak preview where it was after Beat the Chefs. I don't think it did more than 646,000. I don't think it actually did more than 400,000 when it actually got the sneak preview. But either way, Pyramid's back in full force, and I gotta give it up to Embassy Row and Michael Davies. They did a damn good job. They've tried it for years, and now they got it on the air. The wait didn't disappoint. But now we must talk about Beat the Chefs. As you may have known, on Game Show Garbage, I had written a commentary for it. And looking back, I was a little too nice. I must say it does not get to see that I had originally written in it. The main problems I have with the show are pretty much everything. We'll start off with the editing, because that's the biggest flaw of them all. When you watch the show, I think it was originally supposed to be a 30-minute show, being 5 days a week for like about 20 or 40 episodes. But what happened was they combined two shows, turned into a half hour, and had both reveals on at the end of the show. That makes the game really disjointed, because then you have a family who had just cooked and just heard from the judges, and they're told they have to wait another 2 hours before they know if they won or not. I say 2 hours because the other team usually has another hour to hour and a half to cook their meal, which makes it more nerve-wracking for them than it does for us who are watching the show. And when they put both of them on the end, more often than not, the first one would lose and the second one would win, and we will get a little bit of happiness out of that. Or the first one would win and the second one would lose and we leave feeling disappointed. I would rather have it be a half-hour show and then we could just move on to the next day. That would have solved the editing problems right there. The execution problems that I have with it is that they pay more attention to the characters of the home chefs than they do the actual selling point, and that is the cooking of the meal. I would rather find the meal cooking more important than the antagonization of the home chefs versus the professional chefs. And I like Bo McMullen. He was great in the first season of Worst Cooks in America. And another thing that sorry if I feel a little disjointed here, but the execution of the show when we get to the judging is pathetic as well, because when we watch a cooking show like Chopped or Iron Chef, we like to see the chefs there take it from the judges, telling them, well, I love this dish, you could have done this, or I hate this dish because of so-and-so. It really gets me that they're put to the back and they talk behind their backs. That is not what I want out of a cooking show, and apparently it's not what people want out of a cooking show as well, because even though it performed well with 500 some odd thousand watching the debut, it has since trailed off to around 300,000 or so, which is not good for a really hyped weekly show. Do I see it lasting longer than the 9-10 episodes it's going to get? Honestly not. And that's because you have Matt Rogers as a host who basically got famous by finishing 9th in a bad season of American Idol. And he hosts like he finished 9th on a bad season of American Idol as well. And not only that, he is probably one of the fakest hosts I have ever seen in the past 10 years. I mean, he'll come on the show, he's really excited, yeah, let's get cooking, and stuff like that. But then when you watch his face, you could tell he's really trying to ham it up for the cameras. Apparently he went to the Patrick Wayne School of Hosting, and that is never a good sign. Also not a good sign is that while he doesn't talk much about the cooking itself, because honestly I think the most professional cooking that he's actually ever done was picking up a phone and calling Domino's. Or maybe his local Chinese takeout, take your pick. When I see a host of a cooking show, I want them to actually know what they're talking about. That's why the best hosts for these type of shows are Alton Brown, Ted Allen, and Rob Ben Israel. And that's why I give such grief to Justin Willman, and to a much lesser extent, even though he can cook, Curtis Stone. Because he comes off as fake as well. But not as fake as Matt Rogers, who can't cook and pretty much isn't interested in cooking whatsoever. He probably used this as a cash-in, and that is dangerous and bad. And speaking of dangerous and bad, that's what this entire show is. It's dangerous and it's bad. It takes all of the elements of an NBC primetime show with false finishes and everything and amps it up to the nth degree to try to get us to suffer through another game so we see both reveals at the end. I would rather have a 30-minute show where it's cooking, judging, reveal. If they had done that, I wouldn't have harped about it as much as I am right now. But since they did this, as much as it pains me to say, it's probably one of the worst GSN originals they have put on in the past 5 years. Is this worse than Love Triangle? No. I would put this in the amount of badness as Dog Park Superstars was. And that's saying something. And that will do it for me. And until the next vlog, which I hope is, well, it's not the vlog, it's a food chain of The Price is Right host. We will get that up soon. I am Robert Seidman, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everyone.
You